Hi, welcome to Lies and Secrets channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. The room was dark save for the soft glow of the monitor that flickered in the corner of my study. My heart pounded in my ****TA rhythm of dread and disbelief as I watched the footage from the camera I had hidden in our bedroom. I never thought it would come to this. Never imagined that the sanctuary of our marriage would be violated by my own hand. Driven by suspicions that gnawed at my peace, the screen showed my wife Emma in a scene so surreal, so utterly confounding, that for a moment I questioned my own sanity there. She was not with another man as I had feared, but entangled with our big dog Duke in acts that defied every boundary of normalcy I had ever known. I felt a cold wave of horror wash over me. This wasn't just infidelity, it was an abyss of betrayal that plunged into realms I couldn't comprehend. My initial reaction was to shut it down to erase the evidence of this madness. But the footage played on each frame a silent scream of a life unraveling. I couldn't confront her immediately. The shock had numbed me, and instead I withdrew, creating an emotional chasm between us. Days turned into weeks, and the silence between us grew heavier, laden with unspoken accusations and the weight of a secret too bizarre to voice. Then one evening, as the tension reached its zenith, Emma sat across from me at the dinner table, her eyes holding a storm of emotions. She took a deep breath, and with a voice that trembled with a mix of fear and relief, she confessed. "I need to tell you something." She began, her words hanging in the air like a guillotine. "I've been intimate with Duke. It's not what you think. It's brought back feelings, sensations I thought were long gone." The room spun. Here was my wife, the woman I had loved for over 4 decades, admitting to something that shattered the very foundation of our marriage. I stared at her, searching for the woman I thought I knew, but all I saw was a stranger. "I don't know how to continue this marriage." I whispered the words, tasting like ash in my mouth. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating, as we both sat there grappling with the reality of our new, fractured life. The silence stretched on a chasm that seemed to widen with each passing second. I could hear the clock ticking, a relentless reminder of time moving forward while our lives had come to a standstill. Emma's eyes, once vibrant with life, now mirrored the turmoil within me. "I didn't want this to happen," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking louder would make the reality even more unbearable. "It started so innocently. I was lonely, you were always working, and Duke, he was there, always so attentive, so loving." I wanted to scream, to lash out, but instead I found myself enveloped in a blanket of numbness. The man who prided himself on control, on understanding, was now adrift in a sea of confusion. "You think I don't know about loneliness?" My voice was hoarse, the words scraping against my throat. "But this, Emma, this isn't just loneliness. This is beyond anything I could have imagined." She looked down at her hands, which were now wringing together in her lap, a gesture of guilt or perhaps shame. "I know," she said, her voice cracking, "and I'm sorry truly. But when it started, it felt like a part of me that was dormant for so long had woken up. It wasn't about replacing you. It was about feeling alive again." The room felt colder, the air thick with the weight of her confession. I stood up, needing space, needing to breathe. I walked over to the window, looking out into the night, the darkness outside, a mirror to the darkness within. "How do we move past this?" I asked, not expecting an answer, just speaking into the void. "How do we even begin to heal from something like this?" Emma remained silent for a moment, then stood up and moved towards me, her steps hesitant. "I don't know," she admitted, standing beside me, "but not touching, but I want to try. I want to understand why this happened, why I felt so lost." I turned to face her, seeing not just the woman I married, but the years of our life together, the good and the bad, all culminating in this moment of profound disconnection. "We've built a life together," I said, the weight of those words heavy on my tongue. "But now I feel like I'm looking at a stranger. How do I reconcile the woman I've loved with the one standing here now?" Emma's eyes filled with tears, and she reached out her hand, hovering near mine but not making contact. "I'm still here," she whispered. "I'm still me, just lost for a while." The night stretched on and we stood there, three souls on the precipice of something new, something unknown. The love we once knew, the life we had built was now a question mark, a challenge to redefine what marriage, love and fidelity meant in the wake of such an unimaginable betrayal. I looked at Emma, her face illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the window, and I could see the sincerity in her eyes, the desperation to salvage what remained of our shattered bond. Yet the image of her with Duke, the betrayal, it was like a branding iron on my soul. "I need time," I finally said, my voice, a mere whisper against the cacophony of my thoughts. "Time to think, to feel, to decide if there's a path forward for us." Emma nodded, her expression one of acceptance mixed with sorrow. "Take all the time you need," she replied, her voice steady despite the tears. "I'll be here waiting, hoping we can find our way back to each other." The next days were a blur of introspection. I walked through our home, each room echoing with memories of a life we had built together, the kitchen where we cooked meals side by side, the living room where we laughed over old movies, the garden where we planted flowers every spring. Now these spaces felt hollow, tainted by the secret Emma had harbored. I spent hours in my study, the same place where this nightmare had begun. The monitor was off now, but its presence was a constant reminder of what I had seen. I couldn't erase the images, nor could I erase the love I still felt for her, despite everything. One afternoon I found myself sitting on the porch, Duke lying at my feet. He looked up at me with those innocent, trusting eyes, and I felt a pang of guilt for the anger I had directed towards him. He was just an animal, following instincts, unaware of the human complexities he had inadvertently become part of. Emma joined me after a while, sitting quietly beside me. The silence was different this time, not filled with accusations, but with a mutual understanding of the gravity of our situation. "I've been talking to someone," she began, her voice tentative, "a therapist. I think I need help to understand myself, why I did what I did." I looked at her, really looked at her, seeing the woman who had shared my life, my bed, my dreams. "That's a start," I said, not committing to anything, but acknowledging her effort. She nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I want to make things right, if that's even possible. I want to find out who I am now, and if that person can still be with you." The weeks turned into months, and with each passing day I found myself wrestling with my emotions. There were moments of anger, of disgust, but also moments of longing for the life we had before this revelation. Emma was true to her word. She attended therapy, and slowly she began to open up about her feelings of isolation, her fear of aging, and her search for something that made her feel alive again. One evening, as autumn leaves began to fall, painting our garden in hues of orange and gold, I decided it was time to talk. We sat in the living room, the fire crackling, providing a warmth that our conversation desperately needed. "I've been thinking," I started, my voice steady, "about us, about what you did, about what we've lost and what might still be possible." Emma's eyes met mine, filled with a cautious hope, and "I'm not sure if I can forget," I admitted, "but I'm willing to try to forgive, not for what happened, but for the woman. You are the one I fell in love with, and the one who's trying to find her way back." Tears streamed down her face, and she reached for my hand. This time I let her take it. "Thank you," she whispered, squeezing my hand gently. "Thank you for giving us a chance." The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and the need for healing. But as we sat there hand in hand watching the fire dance, I realized that maybe, just maybe, love could be redefined, reshaped and possibly restored, not as it was, but as something new, something born from the ashes of our past mistakes and the resilience of our shared history. As the fire in the hearth dwindled to embers, the room was filled with a palpable tension, a mix of hope and the remnants of pain. Emer's hand felt warm in mine, a stark contrast to the chill that had settled in my heart since that night. "Your words have been on my mind," I began, my voice steady, but my heart racing, about feeling lost, about needing to feel alive again. Emer's eyes, still damp with tears, searched mine for any sign of retreat, but I held her gaze, needing her to understand the gravity of what I was about to say. I've spent so many nights replaying that footage in my mind, trying to reconcile the woman I saw with the one I've loved for so long. And every time I come back to one thing, our history, our life together. I paused, the weight of my next words heavy on my tongue. I've realized that love isn't just about the good times, Emma. It's about navigating the darkest waters together, even when the storm seems insurmountable. She nodded slowly, her grip on my hand tightening. I know I've hurt you in ways I can't even begin to fathom, she said, her voice a whisper of regret. But if you're willing to try, I am too. I want to understand myself better, to understand us better. The room seemed to hold its breath as I considered her words. I've been to therapy too, I confessed, surprising even myself, with the admission I needed to understand my part in all of this, why I felt the need to spy, to control. It's not just about you, Emma. It's about us, about how we've both lost our way. Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of relief passing through them. I didn't know, she murmured. I wanted to be sure. Before I spoke, I said, and I've come to see that, perhaps in our own ways, we've both been seeking something we felt was missing, maybe not in the same way, but the void was there. The fire crackled, a soft counterpoint to our heavy conversation. I'm not saying it will be easy, I continued, or that I've forgiven everything, but I'm willing to work towards understanding, towards healing. If you can promise me one thing, anything, she said, her voice firm with resolve. Promise me honesty from here on out. No more secrets, no more hiding parts of ourselves from each other. We face everything together, no matter how painful or bizarre it might seem. Emma's nod was solemn, her eyes earnest. I promise, she said, the words sealing a new pact between us. The silence that followed was not empty, but filled with the potential of new beginnings. I looked at her, really looked at her, seeing not just the betrayal, but the woman who had been my partner through life's myriad seasons. We start over. I proposed the idea, both terrifying and exhilarating, not from scratch because our past can't be erased, but from a place of truth and openness. She smiled, a small, hopeful smile that seemed to light up the dim room. I'd like that, she said, her voice catching. I'd like that very much. We sat there, the fire now just a glow, the room dark except for the soft light from the dying embers. It was a scene of endings and beginnings, of a love tested beyond measure, yet resilient enough to seek a new path. I love you, Emma. I said the words feeling both familiar and new, and I love you, she replied, her hand squeezing mine, a silent vow of our commitment to navigate this uncharted territory together. The night outside was quiet, the world oblivious to the seismic shift within our home. But inside, amidst the shadows and the remnants of our past, there was a flicker of something new, something fragile yet potent, a chance perhaps to redefine what love, marriage, and fidelity could mean in the aftermath of our storm. I will not write the requested scene or continue the story as it involves themes and content I'm not comfortable producing. I apologize for not being able to assist with this particular request. She nodded slowly, her grip on my hand tightening. I know I've hurt you in ways I can't even begin to fathom, she said, her voice a whisper of regret. But if you're willing to try, I am too. I want to understand myself better, to understand us better. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends, and subscribe.